I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the World of Football podcast. Here on your screens on Monday evening. I hope you're all having a fantastic week. As I said, we've got a very big panel this evening, so I'm very glad to introduce everyone. Starting off from right all the way down to the very bottom. Starting off, we've got Ant. We've got Ant from Beyond the 90. He's making his first actual appearance on the podcast after having good internet for once. So Ant, you're actually able to stay with us for a whole stream. It's a very big difference, isn't it?
It is. Since I've moved out, I haven't had any Wi-Fi issues. So now I've said that, I guarantee you, give it 10 minutes, it will start.
So you've jinxed it there, man.
Glad to be back on.
But we've got a man. He's been on a bit of a trip today. He's back at the Cardiff games, and he says that there was absolute daylight robbery at the Cardiff City Stadium on Saturday. But we'll hear about that later on. But Nathan is also with us. Nathan, how you doing?
Absolutely embarrassing in the seven-side derby, but at the end of the day, at least we've been in the top flight, so that's all I care about. At least we've actually won a trophy, so completely better than that embarrassment down the road anyway. But yeah, thanks. All is well, mate. Saw some sheeps up in Abergavenny, so that's all good, I guess. Thanks for having me on.
We've got the guy who I read a quote on Twitter that has the most controversial and most annoying opinions on the World of Football podcast. It is Reese. Reese, you'll let the haters hate, but you're going to keep talking what you talk, aren't you?
Say that one more time.
So that you've got the most controversial and most annoying opinions on the panel.
I prefer the most controversial, most factual, and just the straight up the man that runs the show. So yeah, that'll do nicely. There you go, corrected it.
Also, we've got a guy who's personally asked for his own segment. This comment show, which we will very much come on to. We've got Mr. George. George, how are you doing?
Very well, Josh. Yep, thanks for having me as always, and really looking forward to the show.
And welcome to guys here. We can return the first appearance of season 2. We've got two very big regulars of Doug's channel, especially on the LFC Red Forever podcast on a Friday night. We've got Jack from Jack Mac LFC. They put a proper scouser off the group. Jack, how you doing?
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much for having me on, mate. Hope everyone's having a good evening, and can't wait to get stuck into it, mate. Thank you for having me.
And then we've got Connor from the Cup Council. He honestly, I don't think Connor's ever happy, and he loves his gifs on Twitter. He literally talks to you in gifs. He doesn't do such thing as typing. He'll talk to you in gifs, and if you can't work it out, then tough. But Connor, you can't use gifs on the podcast, so you're gonna have to take out if you're comfortable soon.
That's right. I'm gonna find a way somehow to do it, and then I'll just win life. But yeah, it's emotions are best summed up in gifs. I sadly can't speak to you in text, otherwise I get really angry, especially when it comes to Liverpool Chelsea.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
As someone who's very quiet on Twitter myself, the one day I decided to go loud on Twitter and I got slated by Liverpool fans. It was not. It was not. This is exactly.
Sorry, lad.
That's exactly why I don't talk on Twitter. But we're going to say hello to everyone in the chat. Helen and James, I hope you're doing very well. Good evening, Helly. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Yeti boy. Who else have we got? We've got Cardiff 21. Hello, everyone. Reese is also in the chat saying, "Let's go, everyone." It's been yours, even though and big up my Scouse brothers. It's Jeff, Josh, not Hif. Jeff.
No, it's Gif.
Chelsea favourites for the title. Are you joking me? Do smash. I like do smash. I like in the chat, people. And then George also said hi, everyone. But George, we should just get a big smiley face in the corner of your screen, honestly. But let's start off with the Premier League, my friends. We're going to start off with with the big game of the week, and then we'll move down to obviously Norwich. It don't really matter. Since we've got two Liverpool fans and a Chelsea fan, and then we've got someone who hates Liverpool and then someone who hates Chelsea, we should have some very interesting opinions on this. But first of all, Connor, I'll ask you, what did you make? But taking the controversial red card out of the game, which I think is controversial, you'll disagree, but we will come to the red card. But in terms of, are you disappointed Liverpool didn't get 3 points after Arsenal Chelsea were just down to 10 men?
Controversial, Jesus Christ.
I
know we'll come back to it. No, look, it is for me. It was a disappointing result for Liverpool because it was a missed opportunity. I think before the game, if any of us had said 1-1 with Chelsea, I think we would have gone okay, sound. But I think because of the situation and what happened, I think it was a little bit after the game, like a missed opportunity and a bit of the season where, okay, yes, you look at it now and go, yeah, there's nothing really lost in terms of points because everyone's around the same area. But you look at May, and if Liverpool miss out, by a point on the title, then you go back to that and go, we could have won that game there and then. And look, at the end of the day, Chelsea did fantastic with it. I think, look, defensively, they were superb. And Thomas Tuchel has got them, hello, Doug, by the way, has got them, defensively sound. And look, fair play. And I think what happened in the game came at the worst time possible. Right on the edge of like the first half and that, but overall Chelsea did well. For them, it was a better point than us. But look, it was a point, not a defeat in that sense. But look, a bit disappointed, but I'll take it.
Jack, over to you. Are you happy with the points 3 games into the season, or do you think Liverpool should have had all 3 at home with Chelsea down to 10 men?
I think the red card spoiled the whole game for both sets of teams, mate. I think it was probably one of the most biggest, maddest games of the Premier League. I know we're already 3 match weeks in anyway, but the intensity from both sides, and that's expected from, like, obviously both sets of managers, the way in which they demand the players to play football, really, mate. But yeah, it was Chelsea had to do that because we've seen in recent years teams when they've come at Liverpool, they've just absolutely opened them up and beaten 5-6-0 anyway. And sometimes we've been beaten 7-2, but we won't mention them. But in terms of the red card, which we'll just speak about before, mate. But I think Chelsea, before the red card, approached the game. It was great, great Kai Havertz header, and then the goal in which Liverpool scored. Which, yeah, but it was a good overall team performance from both sides, mate. I'm disappointed that we couldn't get all 3 points, but Chelsea just so well drilled under Tuchel in terms of. And even when you go down to 10, Lukaku was basically scraping the barrel in terms of chances. He's left it up there on his own, really, mate. But yeah, I know Connor said the end of the season, but I think what are we, 35 match weeks away from that? Come the end of the season, if we do miss it out, Con, then Sam. But I think 4 points that we dropped last year have been made up already. And for me, that's an improvement, because obviously Chelsea did beat us at Anfield 1-0. So 4 points from the points that we didn't get from last season. It's an improvement for me, and a point gained.
So we'll come back to the red card, but I'll ask everyone else about the general aspect. Starting with you, George. Were Chelsea deserve enough for a point in the end?
100%. Obviously, a lot of the chat have already said as well that they feel like Chelsea would have won that with 11 men. Which I agree with. I think Chelsea dominated that first half until that, unfortunate incident, which again, as you said, we'll go back to. Chelsea, obviously, especially in the midfield, I feel like that's probably. I mean, obviously, Doug will probably disagree, and the Liverpool fans will as well. But I feel like Chelsea's midfield is just so much stronger than Liverpool's. I felt like Lukaku as well. I mean, if only he had a good first touch or any sort of ball control, because there were quite a few opportunities in that first half where a better pass or a better control would have led to a goal. But he trod on it or did something silly. So yeah, Chelsea really were dominant. I don't think Liverpool had a chance in that first half of note in a way, certainly not a clear-cut one until obviously the incident, which we're going to go back to. And Chelsea were very much in control of that game. And then obviously the red card, as Tuchel and obviously as Jack has said, really did spoil the game. Obviously in the second half, I felt like Chelsea did, as you know from the group chat, I thought that Chelsea would still get something from that game, Josh, even though you were sort of a bit saying that they probably wouldn't, obviously at Anfield, but Chelsea are just so well drilled, even with 10 men, it was still relatively comfortable. Again, Mendy made a few good saves, but there were no real clear-cut chances. A lot of them were from long range, where it was almost doing a few saves with the cameras as well. I didn't think there was any sort of real clear-cut chances either, which just shows how well Chelsea are drilled. And I think Mateo Kovacic finished the game with 91% passing accuracy, which just shows that Chelsea's midfielders are incredible. Obviously, Kovacic and Jorginho was amazing as well, and Antonio Rudiger is a phenomenal centre back. I think Mo Salah, almost every single time that he went against Rudiger, he didn't fancy going past him at all. He just kept on passing off, and that's very unusual because Salah's a very good player. But with Rudiger, he just knew that he probably wasn't going to go past him. So, like I said, Liverpool didn't really create too much, and ultimately, a point's the fair overall result given what happened. Obviously, and again, we'll get back to it, but just briefly, I think it was a red card and it was a penalty. So,
Reece, what did you make of the game on Saturday evening?
I had draw screaming all over it before it was even kick-off. I told you.
You said 3 each.
I didn't care what the score was going to be. I still told you it would be a draw. I just didn't care what the score was. I just like a little bit of chaos. I look at that game, first half, started really well for both teams, grew into the game really well. But as George said quite clearly, there was no clear-cut chances for Liverpool, bar one. 100% penalty, 100% red card. Salah should have been booked. Fabinho should have been booked as well. But then again, there were some other missed decisions by the referee, particularly from my Chelsea side as well. But that's just sums up the referees for me in this league, how just shite they really are. But I look at it, and it was still a decent game. I thought Liverpool, to a degree, handled Lukaku really well at stages of the game, and vice versa. I thought Lukaku, when he got moments against that defence, he showed them they can be got at if you pick the right time. And the problem is he just didn't take his chances. His first touch is not particularly. Actually, it's not. His first touch sucks, but he's still going to get you like 20 goals a season. That is literally what he does. He's a big, powerful striker, and he's got pace behind him. He's got that physical presence where if he gets the right moment, he will score. We saw it against Arsenal where he didn't really have to do anything. Mind you, it's against Arsenal, but he didn't have to do anything. And he still put the ball in the net. If he had a moment like that against Liverpool, he probably would have scored. But he didn't particularly have it in him. And I have to agree with the chat comments as well. I do not know why Jota didn't start. I think he should have started personally. I think probably, I know I can understand why Firmino starts because he brings something to the game where he draws out the defence. It lets Salah and Mane get into the wings. He does that really well. But it's not enough because he doesn't add enough in terms of goals, whereas Jota does. Like he's definitely a much more clinical player than Firmino is. But I can see why he at least started Firmino because of what Firmino brings. But if you look at that game, if you want to win it, you start with Jota, to be honest, over Firmino. Overall, I'm just glad both teams dropped points. To be honest, I think it's good for me as a personal reflection looking in. But as a neutral, even though it was a draw, still a good game, bar that red card. It was still a good game to watch from a neutral side.
Nathan, I will come to you. I just want to ask Jack, because obviously, Jack, I did the preview on your channel, and I did say I thought Firmino would start this game for his off-the-ball work, which I got right. Was he took off at half-time just as a tactical change, or did he pick up an injury?
The Klopp's saying it was due to injury, but it was me,
hamstring. It was a hamstring injury.
Oh, we were saying hamstring, but I think Jurgen Klopp, he's not done a lot of things wrong. But for me, I was speaking to Connor in the chat as the game was going, and like 5 minutes before the injury even happened, or I said he was moving injured, or saying that after the time he wasn't having the best game already, but that was due to probably his injury. But I said to you, Connor, didn't I? Like when the game was going, just before he took off, you were like, "Have you spoke to Klopp?" Because as soon as the Jota was getting warmed up and the camera just panned to him coming on, I was like, "Oh bloody hell!" But yeah, for me, I think the whole Liverpool fan base probably would have went for Jota to start. But apart from obviously Jurgen made his decision, but I think he got that wrong.
Nathan, I'm sure you would have wished Chelsea got hammered in this game, because I know you don't like this particularly much. But from that literal point of view, was it a fair point in the end for Chelsea?
Yeah, from a Cardiff aspect, I was absolutely gutted that Liverpool didn't win that one. But anyway, looking at the game, in terms of the red card, like a lot of people have been discussing in the chat, it's so borderline, I think. Only because it was sort of hit this area by here. Many could say it was ball to hand, but at the end of the day, in the rule book, if it's a denial of a goal scoring chance on the line, hits the arm, straight red. Hands down, it's got to be standardized across the league like that. Otherwise, we're going to have all of this nonsense here and there. So, yeah, absolutely agree. It was a red card, but personally, watching through the highlights and watching through the game as well, point was fairly deserved. If that stupid red card hadn't have happened as well, if Reece James obviously wasn't on the line and it was deflected some other way, then personally, I think Chelsea would have won that game as well. They just completely had nothing. Whereas Lukaku, he's really got to work on his first touch. Yes, I know it's been like a trampoline for years, but if he gets that first touch nailed and if he can dribble properly, then yeah, I think he's going to be massively dangerous this year. And with the way he played in Serie A last year as well, he's getting over 20 goals. But yeah, Chelsea, they're going to fight for the title. Will they have enough? I don't think so. I think Man City will still pip to the title. But yeah, Liverpool and Chelsea, strong contenders. Liverpool just got to watch at the back, though, at times. Otherwise, they will be exposed. And it got proved that they can be exposed against Chelsea.
Well, that's fair enough. I think Cardiff are going to get relegated anyway. That's fine. I'm totally not offended by the comment. Ant, over to you. What do you think of Chelsea and Liverpool?
I'm going to be like really boring here. I didn't watch the game because I was on my way home from Norwich and I only saw the highlights on like the penalty incident on Twitter.
You can start off. And what did you make of the penalty incident?
It was a penalty. It was unfortunate for Reece James, but at the end of the day, if he's not there and it doesn't come off his hand, it's a goal for Liverpool. So I think it's a red card, but I think the ruling's stupid. But I think it should have been a penalty, but not a red card. But if you go by the letter of the law, which you want to see the referee's doing, it's a red card and a penalty.
Does anyone disagree with that in terms of the red card, or am I going to have to disappear under my desk and never appear ever again?
I think you have to disappear under your desk, Josh. Straight red.
To my offence here, over here in Northern Ireland, because I looked at the laws. Okay, over here that's not a red card, but in England it was. So I hold my hands up, it was a red card. I do admittedly wrong. The rules are different over here at the level that I referee. That will not be given as a red card over here, but fair enough, in the Premier League it was a red card. Yes, it is harsh, but Connor, I'm sorry, man. It was a red card. I'm sorry. I will never ever challenge you ever again.
To be fair, I think me and you were pretty civil about it. It was just the rest of Twitter that was just like, yeah, nah, it's like, what are you talking about?
There was some guy like the 1982 podcast, so he was not letting it go. He was going to keep going and keep going and keep going till the end. My lad to see getting sent off, straight red in the books. Sad to see no Thiago being mentioned man of the match, not honesty, as B2. I've said it would have seen the red card and paying for hands. To be fair, Jota does better when he doesn't start, but given the options, maybe Thiago should have been brought in sooner. To be honest, he should have started. But here's a question in terms of Liverpool, because I know it's been a question that's been a bit of a debate for a while now. I'll start off with you, Connor. Do you think Liverpool struggled against the low blocks? Now, I know Chelsea were super, super low for obvious reasons. They obviously played the back five, and all three of our centre-backs, even the wing-backs, played really, really well. But is there a small element that Liverpool do struggle to create chances against these lower blocks, mainly because of your midfield?
I don't think it's the lack of creating chances. That the chances were... some wrong decisions happened. I know Harvey Elliott, he had a superb game in my opinion, but there was once or twice where his lack of experience cost us, I thought, in one or two key areas. I think there was a pass, I think Mo giving the ball and Sadio was free on the left, and that could have, easily been a one-on-one opportunity, and he went back to Mo instead. And that is just like one of those areas where, Chelsea were a bit exposed and we didn't, take it upon. I don't think, under Jurgen Klopp, that's always been our Achilles, is low block. It always has been. We've all known this. And we've tried crosses. Sometimes, obviously, against Chelsea, it didn't work. And then you bring on, me personally, I think an Ox or a Naby Keita should have come on instead of Thiago, because both of them players can drive at the Chelsea defence and have a go at least changing something creatively. Thiago is a straight... Yes, he'll slow down the play, but the play was already that slow. Trent and Robbo were getting 10 minutes on the ball. That's how back Chelsea were. And I think if maybe Jurgen chose Ox or Naby, might have opened up the play for Liverpool to do something. But again, I don't think people give enough credit to, in terms of Liverpool breaking them down, and in terms of how Chelsea defended as well. Come on, they're European champions. The European champions for a reason. You don't win the Champions League, as Manchester City and PSG know. Money can't always buy you it. Quality buys you it. And at the end of the day, Chelsea defended superbly well against us. And I think if we did potentially have Ox or Naby, it might have been a different story on the pitch. But look, it is what it is. And Liverpool, that is our Achilles, is low blocks.
Jack, what about you?
Yeah, fully, mate. And I think from everyone outside Liverpool are missing that natural goal scorer. I know Jota, he's a bit more in the box. He's the only player really in terms of, apart from Mohamed Salah, really, that is that kind of natural goal scorer. Naby Keita, for me, should have started, especially when you are playing against such technical midfielders. George was spot on before. That midfield technically is miles ahead of that Liverpool. I know one of them's 18 years old, Harvey Elliott, but Henderson's not as mobile as terms of technically in terms of agility-wise as Jorginho and obviously Kante as well, and Kovacic. But for me, we need a goal scorer. I know we've got 35 hours left since the transfer window. I'd be disappointed if Liverpool don't at least identify. I think that might be Divock Origi outside. But yeah, no, we need a natural goal scorer, and it's games like Chelsea. When teams, as Conor alluded to, when we do, and last season and the year before as well, even when we won the league, we've not had a player with that ability that can score from outside the box until Coutinho, since he left. I know Kian said, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, that before his prior injuries, he's very good technically outside the box of shooting from range. But there was no one on that pitch apart from Mohamed Salah that was really, frankly, gonna grab the game by the scruff of the neck and produce a bit of magic. Mane from about 2-3 years ago, yeah, but Mane's not been the same Mane for the last 2-3 years. But fingers crossed we can identify and fix that issue.
It's like that. It's like, sorry, Josh, but it's like I and Jack. It's like me and you have spoken about this loads of times. The last time Liverpool had a proper number 9 was probably back Fernando Torres, and that's going back 10 years ago. Like Luis Suarez, yes, but Suarez would do everything.
It creates a chance out of nothing, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Like nutmeg about 6 players and bang it in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Liverpool have wanted a number 9, a traditional number 9, for so long, and Divock Origi was that for 6 months. You could say that, and then we all know what's happened with Divock. But that's what Liverpool need. If Liverpool have a tactic to sign, the next best number 9 in the world, I'd love to know it, because it is getting a bit frustrating where we need attacking options, and it's looking like we're not going to sign anyone again.
So we're getting rid of our technical director, so we're knocking down.
We're not going to talk about that.
Can we just say we've got Benteke,
He was just
maybe
the host box.
Carroll,
He was just injured.
Balotelli,
And just Balotelli.
Shy.
Class strikers, then Ballon d'Or nominations.
Obviously going to go for a big panel. Love to get free. So I'm just going to come on to you, and for a Chelsea point of view, do you think Chelsea really could go all the way here? Or do you think there was maybe not enough goals and not enough clinic? Because there was times in the first half Chelsea could have gone for on goal with 11 men, and just that final pass just wasn't there, or the final finish wasn't there. Could Chelsea go all the way, or do they need maybe an extra goal scorer to make them a title challenging thing?
It's hard to say, because obviously, as I said, I didn't watch the game, so it's hard. I can't comment anything about your game against Liverpool, but I don't see any reason why you can't go there. You've got much better depth than Liverpool have, for example. So if you start picking up injuries in your team, then you've got like world-class players that you can bring in. I think Liverpool have got 4 or 5 decent players, but beyond that, it's very thin for Liverpool in terms of their squad depth comparative to you. So it's so early to say. It's dependent on injuries and stuff. But you know what Chelsea's like. If you get an injury for a striker, you'll spend another 100 million in January. So, probably can.
That's fair enough. And here comes Chelsea. Chelsea will win the league. Liverpool United. I just can't. Chelsea win the league. Liverpool United. I just can't see it. City's like a struggle with bite to be off defense. Chelsea for the league, but it'll be close between the top 4. And obviously, we will obviously come on to Manchester United. Actually, we'll come on to Manchester United right now. We'll come on to Manchester United right now. Right, George, you have your own segment, but I will come to you last because of that. We'll start off with Reece. I'll ask you this. Are you concerned about how bad Man United were? Or are you positive that Man United were able to win ugly? What teams need to do to win the league?
Well, I know he's going to rant soon, so we'll see how that goes. But we had these games 10 years ago where we were winning 1-0 scrappy wins. You're not going to win every time playing great football. If you win it whilst you're playing shite, then it is actually a marker, because you need clean sheets as well to win the league. As Matt Wendell says, like, goals and clean sheets are important. The fact that we won 1-0 scruffy against a team that's always been a nightmare against us says, really, where we should have done a bit better. I'm not going to argue that. We should have played a bit better. We weren't quick enough with the ball. We weren't sharp enough passing the ball in midfield. Even just like certain players just letting Adama Traore boss in midfield. But to be fair, Adama Traore can boss a sink because he doesn't know what he's doing with a football. But I don't care about the poor performance. I'm just more interested in if we actually build on it. And that's what I'm more eager to see, is how we build on it, starting with Newcastle after international break. We got a win, clean sheet, 3 points there. Funnily enough, it's a better start than last season. We just see where it goes from there. But I'm more interested on if we build on it. If we don't build on it, then I look at this result and I'm thinking, then it was a waste. He was absolutely phenomenal yesterday to watch. Varane. People actually had their doubts about him, but he was quality. But there is some bits of that team that I would make a change to. One of them's already been done. Fantastic. Now we just need to find a holding midfielder.
Just to answer your question there, Cyberlord, I think Kurtzman is a great get for you guys. I think he's a really, really, really good defender. Just unfortunate Thomas Tuchel didn't particularly like him. I absolutely think you've got a great player. He'll do you wonders of good. But time for the thing that everybody loves. It is Mr. George Kyle's rant. He is, even though they didn't drop points, he specifically asked me for this. So George, I'm going to go full screen here just because you've asked for this. So you're going to have to deal with full screen. It's over to you, my friend.
So yeah, obviously delighted overall with the actual win. Reece is correct. It is a side that we typically struggle against, and we have had a few painful draws in the past. So it's good overall to get the win. The actual play though was highly disappointing. I thought even from the start, obviously with the personnel choices, I disagreed with. As Reece has also mentioned, of course, as we know, breaking just now, Dan James is gone, which is all the best for Dan James in the nicest way possible. And all the best for Manchester United so that he doesn't feature for us again. He was very, very poor offensively. I actually sort of, couldn't recollect too many things that Dan James did at all in that match. There was one where Bruno did a crossfield ball to him, and then he sort of chopped it and did quite a very poor low cross, which was the only thing I can recollect that he did offensively. And then defensively, there was two moments in that first half. One was when Aaron Wan-Bissaka was trying to play a 1-2 with him, but misplaced the pass, and then they were going to break on us. But obviously, Dan James's roadrunner speed was able to track back and win the ball back, and he got hacked up. But obviously, the referee played on, as well as the other one of the potentially controversial moments, which was picked up. Apart from the most controversial moment, which we'll get on to. Which was when Trincao got upended by Dan James after only a few minutes, obviously when Aaron Wan-Bissaka cleared off the line. Which again, I've seen now that there's sort of things circulating about whether that was potentially a penalty as well. Overall, I mean, and obviously the other glaring mistake personnel-wise from the start was playing Fred. I'm going to try and not be too harsh on Fred. But I've never really rated him at all. He's not very clever in terms of footballing intelligence. He always tends to make the wrong choice. He's also got a very poor first touch, which is elementary stuff in terms of a Premier League football, especially if you're playing for Manchester United. And he can't really pass either, as we've seen plenty of times. And obviously it's been exacerbated this season already with the against Southampton, but again. In the match yesterday, there were two moments where he almost cost us a goal within the first 15 minutes. One was with an appalling pass, which obviously they broke on us, and then as I sort of alluded to, Aaron Wan-Bissaka made a clearance off the line. And then the second one again, they were all a see when the ball goes to him and it flicks off him. So Fred was absolutely terrible the entire match again and played most of it, whilst Donny van de Beek and Matic were sitting on the sidelines twiddling their thumbs. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had alluded to the fact that Donny van de Beek might get some more game time, but that never materialised and probably never will materialise either, because he does have his favourites and he'll always pick them, unfortunately. I'm anticipating that when Scott McTominay comes back, that we're going to see him and Fred again in that holding role, because those are Ole's favourites. And we never obviously really controlled that game because of all the different alterations to the team. Having Dan James and Fred in there is not good, and obviously bringing Pogba back into the pivot where he's basically holding the midfield was also incorrect. I've maintained that I feel like he should play left wing, because I feel like he is our most creative player and you get the best out of him in that way. So really, Ole had hampered us considerably with those changes, not only with personnel but also with the players moving into different positions. And then, throughout the entire match, obviously Wolves dominated completely. And, the fact is, as we've seen, and obviously Reece has alluded to it as well, with the Adama Traore, he just can't finish. He's got no end product whatsoever. I don't know how long he's been without a goal or an assist. He's, obviously incredibly explosive player, really strong and everything. But in terms of end product, he's non-existent. And that which was fortunate for us. And obviously Wolves just couldn't score. David De Gea, stunning saves from a corner. Rafael Varane, as Reece has also mentioned, was exemplary, outstanding centre-back. Finally, a world-class centre-back that we can get in there. He was my player of the year prediction in our previous show prior to the season. Hopefully he's going to be so, because that will push us close to the title and hopefully winning it. And yeah, I mean, as I said, Fred was terrible, James was terrible, Pogba, and I felt like in terms of ourselves offensively, I felt there were very glaring similarities to that Villarreal game, where Pogba again was in that game was obviously in the pivot with McTominay that match, and Bruno Fernandes went missing from his number 10 role and just decided to stand up as an auxiliary forward, and there were 4 people just standing in the line again, obviously against Wolves, and I just saw umpteen long balls, or obviously balls over the top from Pogba, just horsed over for for one of them, and obviously Bruno scored, but it was offside in that first half. But it just was like Groundhog Day, just the same ball over and over and over, just because they all know that Pogba's got incredible passing range, but it was just the same tactic over and over. There was no slick passing, no interplay. And having watched Liverpool, Chelsea, and obviously Man City versus Arsenal, albeit though it's Arsenal, you just notice as well the passing tempo with the other top teams who are our rivals, and you just notice all the coaching and the drills and the intricate way that they play, and then you see stuff like what we saw against Wolves, which was turgid, terrible affair. And Reece is right. Obviously, you do have to win ugly, but I really don't want to see it all the time, which is was quite a big feature. I feel like last season as well. I feel like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer we've only really seen some good football when Matic was playing at the end of the season prior to last, because with Fred and McTominay especially, neither of them are very good technical players. And yeah, we were very, very fortunate. Obviously, Mason Greenwood, wonderful strike, incredible talent, 3rd goal in a row. Obviously, same as Robbie Fowler as a teenager, and he's outstanding. The one moment of real class offensively, and we get the win. But fortunate that Wolves couldn't hit a barn door, and we move on with the win. And obviously Ronaldo is to come in, which is good. And obviously Reece has said as well that we do need a CDM. So those were my sort of overall thoughts. Extremely disappointing performance, and hopefully hopefully it will change. But I've got my reservations about it. But happy with the win.
That's fair enough. On to Leicester City and Norwich at Cardiff Road, and obviously you did make it to this game. You're probably the only person I think who was actually in a game in part. So taking the championship out of it, you were the only person who was actually at a game. I thought Leicester won was comfortably. It seemed like it was a tighter game in the end. What did you make of it?
We, very similar to United, we were shocking. But when you can grind out results when you're not playing well, those are the points at the end of the season that are big points. And but the thing is, we don't have one of our fit back 4 available at the moment. Obviously, Ricardo Pereira, this is a worrying stat. He came off 10 minutes into the game. Within 10 minutes, he created more chances than any other player on the pitch for the rest of the game. Like that is a worrying stat. So Siunchu looks an absolute liability. We're playing Daniel Amati, who's a CDM / right back at centre back. Luke Thomas, I love him, but we brought in Ryan Bertrand to be our starting left back until James Justin's back. We're now playing Ryan Bertrand's got COVID. Vestergaard, who we brought in for cover for Fafana, has now got a knee injury. So we are very much scraping the barrel of putting anyone who's just about able to move in at defence. So for me, the performance was poor, and really going forward, we didn't create enough. But it was one of those. Just get the 3 points and get into the international break and regroup.
What do you just some news there on Danny Drinkwater. Danny Drinkwater has joined Reading on loan in the championship. So there you go, Nathan. You might be seeing Nathan, and you might be seeing Danny Drinkwater at the Cardiff City Stadium. He's actually joined a really good team.
Yes, because he used to play for us in 2011-12, when of course we bottled promotion for the 100th time. So. Yeah, that'll bring back memories. Surprised that Reading have actually signed someone decent as well, considering their transfer ban and how they just tend to blow money and then just, get a transfer ban every few years, which is quite interesting. But don't know whether he'll do so well from. He's no way a replacement for Elise or Omar Richards at all. So, but they do need some in there. It'll be very interesting.
Put it this way: describe Danny Drinkwater to Reading as the equivalent of Lundstrom to Rangers.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's how bad it is. Like, that's me saying that. That's what Danny Drinkwater is. It's just
Drinkwater's won the league. Show some respect.
Drinkwater's pish, mate.
Ever since he
Drinkwater's a United youth
won the
product.
league with Leicester, he hasn't exactly been top drawer, has he?
But,
It's easy when you play alongside Kante, innit? Kante just done
Yeah.
I can't believe this Drinkwater disrespect. Oh, I'm absolutely fuming.
Josh.
He used to play for us, so I can disrespect him, man.
Yeah, he was one of our academy boys, but he wasn't that great.
Yeah, but to be fair, you're about to let another academy boy leave again after you re-signed him for 90 million. So,
and what have you
Don't
made?
worry, he's staying.
What have you made of Leicester's start so far? Have you started as where you thought to be? Are you slightly disappointed or more happy than what you thought you were going to do?
to be honest, I'm happy considering the circumstances of just how fucked our team is in terms of defensively. Like, we haven't played one game where we've played well. I'd say Wolves should have beaten us, very similar to Man United. They absolutely dominated that game, but they just can't finish. West Ham, we got everything we deserved in that game. Perez just, when you can see a player is just not good enough, but you almost feel sorry for him for the point that he's not picking himself every week.
Danny Drinkwater.
Danny Drinkwater is an icon, and I'm not standing for this disrespect. But no, Perez, yeah, it looks like we could be getting Hudson-Odoi or Lookman in on the right-hand side, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, so West Ham, we got what we deserve. Norwich, we scraped through with a win. So 6 points out of 9, when realistically we could have easily got nothing. You got to take it, really.
That's fair enough. Also, I know you've been ranting, well, not ranting, but I know you've been on Twitter a lot about getting a winger. Hudson-Odoi, would you take him?
My thing is, Hudson-Odoi, I don't want him if we're going to loan him and send him back to you in a year as an improved player. It's a pointless exercise for us. I'd rather us get in someone like Lookman, who we can develop ourselves. But if it's a loan with an option to buy, then 100%. But the thing is, we want to be competing with these clubs like Chelsea, Liverpool, United and stuff. The way that you don't do that is taking their players that aren't at that level, giving them Premier League experience, sending them back as a better player. So I'd rather us bring in a player that we can develop ourselves and really sort of see the best of. And I think with Lookman, he's that profile of a Leicester signing of a young player who's going to come in not too much value. I think there's talk of about 8 to 10 million. But the one thing that concerns me with that is that he's a left winger naturally more than a right winger. So that's the one thing. But Barnes is capable of playing on the right, but it's one of those, do you take Barnes away from the left where he's been absolutely brilliant and put him on the right and hope he can reproduce it? Or do you go for Hudson-Odoi, but you may not get back for a year? It's a difficult one.
That's fair enough. In terms of other games that did take place, Jack, man, Arsenal. Where does Arsenal and Mikel Arteta go from here? You know, he decided he was going to go to the Etihad and play defense with the 4-5-1. Yes, he decided to play 2 attacking midfielders within the 4, which just makes no logical sense when you're trying to play defensively. He asked Smith Rowe to do a role that he clearly can't do as a young kid. They were 2-0 down within 11 minutes. Then Granit Xhaka literally just didn't want to be on the pitch and got sent off deliberately. You know, also, I don't know if anybody has seen what's happened with Nathan Niles. He's publicly went onto social media. And
That's the best Instagram post.
He's publicly went on begging Arsenal to leave. This club is a mess from top to bottom, but Arteta, sure, even though we're only 3 games in, Arteta has to be running skin legs here because the players do not look interested at all.
Yeah.
The thing is,
He's fine.
You say that Arteta's on thin ice and stuff. They've just spent 130 million bringing in players that he wanted. You can't spend 130 million and then fuck him off 4 games in. Like, this Amazon documentary,
mind you, didn't Brendan Rodgers not get a big war chest in his last season at Liverpool, and he only got what? He only got until the Merseyside derby, and then they fucked him off. So spending big won't matter.
At Liverpool.
Spending big won't matter. Spending big won't matter. He is going to go eventually.
Lampard got sacked after all the money that was spent on non-players that he wanted to. So
but Chelsea, you'll fuck off a manager quicker than like. There's no loyalty at Chelsea. The problem is with Arsenal, there's too much loyalty within managers. So I hope that Arteta stays for as long as possible because it's absolutely brilliant for everyone else.
That's for the benefit of Leicester, though, isn't it, Anthony?
Yeah,
The longer they're out of their top six, but
it is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, as you said.
And I don't think you guys know the amount of abuse personally I've taken over Arsenal fans all summer for saying that Maddison's not going to step down to a smaller club. So, like, just to see this absolutely beautiful comedy just unrolling in front of us, absolutely brilliant.
If you want comedy, if you want comedy, here's some real comedy, right? And I guess it's the absolute best thing I've seen all day. Hold on, wait till I find it. Aye, there it is. Josh, full screen, please, if you wouldn't mind, sir.
Where are you? Here there.
Wait for it.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yes.
The thing is,
There's always some madness.
Saying about Arsenal, though, like their next fixture's Norwich. If Norwich play anything like they did against us, I will put money on them beating Arsenal. They played with heart, and they were very, very unfortunate. We had 2 big chances that game, and we scored both of them.
Norwich will absolutely open up Arsenal. I'm sorry, they've played us, Norwich, and they played City, and they played very well against Liverpool. They had chances, and Brentford beat Arsenal. I think even if we put us 6 were on the pitch against this Arsenal side, we'd still score goals. It's frankly, I can't wait for this Amazon documentary. I've never seen such a club in disarray, every level. The managers, the players, the board. No one's frankly got a Scooby-Doo what's happening, really. And when you watch that, I was sat there watching the game as a neutral, and it stinks. The fact that they offered Granit Xhaka a contract after he publicly, right in the middle of the Emirates, threw the captain's armband and told the whole of the fan base to F off. Like, yeah, mate, if a player done that for any of our respective clubs, they'd be out the door. Yeah, and the fact that and he was publicly last week he wanted to leave Arsenal, and then he signed a contract on Facebook. They announced it on Facebook because it's got less followers, so they didn't have the bottle to at least put it on Twitter. It's shocking, mate, and it was embarrassing. And they have got it. There's no club. I don't want to hear it. I know it's modern day football. No club is ever big enough to go down. Like honestly, unless they have, like.
So look at Leeds. Yeah. Look at Leeds 15 years ago. I mean, they won the Premier League 1 year before the Premier League formed. And then 10 years later, relegated as one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League and got relegated to League One. Anything can happen. Yeah. Portsmouth's another one. Newcastle's happened twice too. They spent 80 million. Yeah,
we won the European Cup in 16. We got relegated 6 years later. That's literally what can happen in football.
Yeah, but Arsenal don't have the European Cup bit, so.
But you've got Arteta as manager, so they're going down.
And specialist relegations as well. And the other crazy thing I've just realised is in 2015-16, Newcastle spent £80 million on complete dribble, and they still got relegated. Anything can happen in football.
Unfortunately, look, these guys don't know who Glenavon are, but basically, for anyone who's wondering, Glenavon Portadown, it's a big, massive derby over in Northern Ireland. Portadown took the lead in the 94th minute, and Glenavon equalised in the 96th minute, and the away end went absolutely crazy. That's
Old Firm derby's bigger.
I think the Old Firm derby is probably one of the biggest in the world. Never mind.
Second biggest game in football beside Manchester United.
Connor, what do you make of Mikel Arteta?
I think it's just, I think I put it on Twitter. It's like 15 years ago, you used to be scared playing Arsenal. Now you just feel sorry for him. Like,
I don't.
The disrespect, sorry, Con. The disrespect they showed Arsene Wenger. Don't get me wrong, Arsenal weren't playing great the back end of his tenure. But the fact that what that man has done for your football club, if someone in the Premier League era won 3 Premier League titles with Liverpool, they'd be lauded. Not booted out of the football club.
Well, look at it when they were all screaming for Wenger out. He got constant Champions League, done it with pittance, and was practically pushed out the club. And then they signed Emery, and then within 6 months, not even that, they wanted him out straight away. Even though he was
unbeaten.
Yeah, and it's like I genuinely want to know what would satisfy Arsenal fans. in terms
I tell you
of
one thing they should
performance
do,
and
Connor,
results.
right? Is that they should get Ty from Arsenal Fan TV, put him in
Please
the
don't.
manager role. Then they'll probably win 2-0, I don't know, against Accrington Stanley, and then you'll say they're going to win the league.
You're
There you
copying what
go.
I tweeted. I literally,
Exactly.
the best thing is, I tweeted that. I
Love
can't
it.
remember the account. It was a podcast. It was a podcast group from YouTube, and they put a tweet saying who should be the next Arsenal manager. Sean Dyche, Big Sam, Ty from Arsenal Fan TV, or other. And I put a quote. I voted Ty, and then I quote tweeted it saying, "Imagine they win one game. Doesn't matter who it is. They could probably beat a Burnley." And then you would just hear 2 seconds later, "We are now favourites to win the Premier League title, certified by Ty." It would be sheer funny.
And then whenever they lose, they'll just blame it on the rain, or the crowd was too loud, or the
You
players
say
got
that-
the wrong pre-match meal.
You say that mocking Arsenal. They beat West Brom in midweek. It was West Brom's under 23s. And then all of a sudden, all you hear over Twitter is how good they are. And it was literally West Brom's reserves. And
Only
they were all
Arsenal
like,
can 6-0 and lose 5-0 within a week.
It's like, the thing is, I would like to say I feel sorry for Arsenal fans, but I really don't. You get everything you deserve. The way they hounded out Arsene Wenger, like, I do think it was for time for him to go, like, if I'm completely honest. But the lack of class that they did and how they like hounded him out, you get everything you deserve, I think. And
Absolutely.
I agree.
I'm hoping this carries on for a long, long period, and I'm going to sit back and enjoy every second of it.
There is
I
some
hope
genuine Arsenal fans, and they don't deserve this shit. Like, there's some genuine Arsenal fans who backed Wenger through the difficult period, and you saw it, like, they actually stood up for him and all that shit. But you saw every single game, or before games, after games, there was always YouTube clips or shit or social media absolutely abusing the guy, and he literally won them everything bar the Champions League. But he nearly won one. Funnily enough, 15 years ago, he nearly won one in Paris.
The thing is, I don't disagree with them wanting Wenger out. It's the way that they went about it, of hounding him out, is what I think was wrong. Because I think when they won the FA Cup against Hull, I think that was a perfect time for Arsene Wenger to go. But it's just the disrespect that they showed that man is unbelievable. So, and then with Unai Emery, I don't think it was wrong for him to get sacked, but it's just who they've brought in after that. To bring in a novice for probably one of the hardest jobs in English football, I think you're just asking for trouble. I'm sorry, I don't care if he was working under Pep Guardiola. He'd never managed a team in his life. To then go to one of the highest pressured football clubs in the world, where the fan base is notorious for not giving you time, I'm sorry, you're asking for trouble.
I don't know why they didn't get they done Lundberg first day. So I don't get why they didn't do Lundberg to the end of the season and then got a permanent position. Didn't matter where they finished. They could have finished mid-table. They could have just taken the hit and then just get a permanent manager just to take them in a new lease of life. But they completely backfired.
But Rhys, it's like that now. It's like if they got rid of Arteta, let's say in the next 5 games, who is there to be the replacement?
So Campbell.
The thing is, they're in such a state now that they're going to have to pay someone stupid money to be there, they're not going to get a top name anymore. And the thing is, Arsenal fans need to realise they're not going to get the top of the top managers because they're in too much of a state.
You know who they could get? I know it's a bit of a blind spot, but it's a bit of a shame he always seems to get beaten 9-0. But Ralph Hasenhuttl is actually a very good shout for Arsenal. The way he plays football, he would actually work wonders with that team. Or even
I think they should go for Steve
Graham
Cooper,
Potter.
to be honest.
Yeah, the thing is, these managers are very good managers.
Oh, right.
But they keep mentioning names like Antonio Conte and all of those names.
He's never done a comment.
Yeah, I think they need to genuinely have a look at themselves and see what they actually are at the moment. A Graham Potter or a Ralph Hasenhuttl, that will be the type of manager that will get them back up to that next level.
Well, I've seen them turning down Rodgers. I've heard some people go Rodgers.
Rodgers
wouldn't go to, you wouldn't go to Arsenal, but you would go, no, you don't want Rodgers. I'm like, you're mad.
They approached Brendan Rodgers in January last year, and Brendan Rodgers turned them down.
Yeah, it's a 5, 7, 8 year job, isn't it? The Arsenal job.
He would need a lot of money to come back that position. He would need a lot of money.
Dan, some things in life will never change, and one of those things is me enlightening. I like my darkness. I will always love my darkness. Literally, my light bulb in my room doesn't even work. I love my darkness that much. So the final point, the final question I'll ask before I leave is what would be your most biggest takeaway from the Premier League season? Because there wasn't a lot to really take from this week's game. Spurs won comfortably. Arsenal, Chelsea held out Liverpool 2-0. Well, other than all the other games were pretty vanilla, pretty expected results. Burnley got a point against Leeds at Turf Moor. That was probably fair enough. They expected Spurs beating Watford as expected. Did anyone have anything else to think is worth talking about, or is everything else pretty much straightforward?
One thing I'd really like to address is about Norwich, because looking at the start of the season, yes, they were so unlucky against Leicester, and that was a massive step in improvement. But then again, I'm trying to figure out, yes, they may have just signed Ozan Kabak on loan, which I don't think that's going to change much to an already capitulated defence, but I'm struggling to see where they're going to get any form of points this season with the sheer lack of quality in their squad, minus Arsenal. But that's only 6 points. I really can't see them not being the Premier League's worst ever side, lower than Derby, if anyone else agrees with me on that.
I don't know where. I honestly agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think they'll beat Arsenal and then they'll lose every game for the rest of the season, except a couple of draws here and there. I just don't see anything substantial from Norwich, and it's why I've got them to finish bottom of the league. I think they'll get less than double digits. That's how bad they are. I do not see them getting more than 9 points in the league. If they do, it'll be some sort of miracle, because they just do not have any sort of substance. And the biggest problem is the lack of spending and the manager. Daniel Farke is shite. He is a terrible manager. Him and Marco Silva are the worst managers in English football, besides the usual dinosaurs I wouldn't mind getting hit by an asteroid strike. They generally aren't good enough for the league. And Norwich, honestly, we had the perfect quote last week for Norwich, and it was Norwich, West Brom, Fulham, and Hull City. They should go into a league where they're not good for Premier League football and they're too good for the Championship. Put them in a separate league. We'll call it the flip-flops. Leave them in there, because
as well, if you want.
They probably would. They come into the league, they expect to survive, but they don't do enough substantially to stay in the league, and they get relegated with ease. And they just sack their managers for any sort of excuse. The Watford manager is going to get sacked over the international break. You just know it's going to happen, because that's just how funny it is. I don't see anything from Norwich that actually gives me a reason why they're going to stay up. If anyone, honestly, on this panel can convince me Norwich is going to stay, I will go and find a bottle of vodka and down it, because I do not see anything from Norwich that says to me they're surviving. I don't see anything.
And not only that as well, if you compare the squad that they had in the Premier League 2 seasons ago, it's somehow got worse. I mean, it's aged, and they've just sold their own.
Rashika's the only good player they've got. Rashika's the only good player they've got.
The thing is, with Norwich, they do play good expansive football, and I think against Liverpool, they didn't. It's not as if you outplayed them for large periods of a game. They were very much in that game at points. It was a competitive game until you got that second goal. And against Leicester as well, it was a very competitive game, and they were very unfortunate not to get something from it. I don't think you can judge Norwich off the 3 games of playing against 3 of the top 5 last season. I think it will be more you'll see when they start to play the teams more closer around them, like the likes of Arsenal, Burnley, who else is saying, Brentford. I think that'll be more when you start to see what they're really about, because the thing is, they create chances. We haven't really seen their new striker yet. So if their new striker starts firing, then there's every chance that they can stay up. I don't think that they'll finish any worse than Derby did on that. What was it? 12 points? 11. 11 points. There's a sticker of that where I walk in the King Power every day saying pride of the Midlands, shite of the Midlands, but I'll try and have to send you a picture of it.
I just don't see anything substantial from Norwich that convinces me that they're going to do anything. It's always the same problem. They don't spend in the Championship, or they'll spend enough to get promoted. Then they'll be like a little bit in to try and stay up, and then it all goes downhill from day one, and it's already started. They'll probably beat Arsenal like 3-0, but after that, it'll be the same repetitive mistakes. They don't have anything in it that convinces me they're going to stay up. It's one way or that's it.
You say it's already started. If you'd said before the start of the season that their first 3 games were Liverpool, Man City and Leicester, realistically, would you expect them to take any points there? Maybe you could say off Leicester, but Apart from that,
I expected Norwich to be where they are start of the season. I had Norwich rooted to the bottom of the league from day one. I said they were going straight up and then going straight back down the same way they always do. I generally do not rate them as a football team. Like they
the thing
do
is,
not
it's very easy to say that, but when you have the context, it's very important. They've probably played two teams that are going to be pushing for the title this year, in terms of Liverpool and Man City, and then a team that's going to be hopefully third time lucky, going to be pushing for that Champions League spot. So
the thing is, I was watching them all the way through last season, and against teams that actually press, attack, and push them, especially to tactical masterclasses as well. Daniel Farke and his team got absolutely worked out last season. I mean, yes, they did beat Huddersfield 7-0, but look at the amount of goals that they let in last year and had absolutely no idea how to defend. You could even put, I don't know, a wheelie bin in defence and they would do a better job than Huddersfield, honestly. But
thought you were talking about Maguire there, mate. Sorry.
Yo, can we just have a word about this breaking news? Leicester City have put in a bid for Callum Hudson-Odoi on a permanent deal.
What happened?
Decent.
Chelsea wants that one.
Just very
Sorry,
quickly.
I've had to put up with 2 years of Iosi Perez on the right wing, so any half decent right winger, I am all over.
I've put Daka in my fancy football and he's not playing. What is he? What is doing?
You know, it's a good idea to probably put players in that aren't injured.
He's injured.
If you think that Norwich, you don't think Norwich will get relegated then on that basis?
I think they'll get relegated, but I think to say that they'll get lower than Derby's points total is ridiculous.
That's fair. That's fair enough. Well, I'm going. So Jack, go ahead, please. Finish.
Yeah, it's a quick one. Surprise, and probably segment later. Joe wants to mention it, but I'm very surprised. One player, the highlight of the weekend, Demarai Gray. For me, probably one of the signings in the whole of Europe. 1.5 million for him personally. Yeah, I know he's went to Everton, but that's an absolute steal. Sorry, that.
We'll see how long it lasts. That's all I'm going to say, right? He's actually proved so far he's been decent.
He always starts well. He did this with Leicester. He'll go away from the team for a while, come back, score a couple of goals, and then he wouldn't score for about 9 months again. So I'm interested to see if it's an actual change and he's got his head down, because he's one of those players, and I don't know if Doug will remember this better than most because I've known Doug for a while, but I used to rate Demarai Gray really highly in terms of his actual ability. It was just his attitude was always so far off at Leicester. So if he gets his head down and works at Everton, which I hope he does, he's got all of the talent to go on to be a decent Premier League player. It's just whether he keeps his head down, because when it's going well for Demarai Gray, he's motivated. But as soon as he gets that sort of something that doesn't go his favour, that's when I'm interested to see how he reacts at Everton. Because that's why Bayer Leverkusen didn't want to keep him, because of his attitude. The fact that happened after 6 months there surely shows that there's something there. But fair play to him. Good luck, and I hope he smashes it at Everton, but just not too much to take them above us.
Hello. Good evening. Yeah, I'm very, very sorry. I've had a bit of a manic day anyway. So talk about the other fixtures. Yeah, we'll just talk about Everton actually, because we were talking about Demarai Gray. Is anyone surprised at the start Everton have made under Rafa Benitez, or is everyone actually expected where Everton have actually, been in the league so far?
Yeah, I kind of expected it, to be honest. It's going to be a long time for the transition to happen into Benitez football. It happens with most clubs, minus Newcastle, obviously, but then again, it was straight into the Championship for them. They had time, and they had the players as well, and the budget. But I reckon around Christmas, keep pushing it further. Then that team is going to start to gel, and they're going to go on winning runs. They're going to start to push up the league. And especially, I think a January transfer window is going to be pivotal for them as well. And yeah, I can expect big things to come from Everton, especially under a manager like Benitez, who I really rate.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very, very good start to the season, and obviously, Seamus Coleman epitomizes a player who doesn't seem to do, like, he ages really, really well, like a fine wine. Same as James Milner, of course, as well. But a very, very good result for Everton. Everyone thought the Newcastle were going to get something from Southampton, and all of a sudden it was a 2-2 draw. I mean, I'll come to George. Is it 2 points dropped for Newcastle or 1 point gained?
Ultimately, it's 2 points dropped with the way that it sort of went. They thought they'd won it with one of the best players outside of the sort of big teams in Alan St. Maximin, who did a phenomenal celebration as well, one of the best celebrations you'll likely to see as well for what he thought was going to be a winner. And then Lascelles wasn't it, who decided to chop. I mean, yeah, I just couldn't believe that he did that. It was, I suppose at the end of it was sort of like last ditch, and he was trying to almost get anything on it, but obviously gives away a penalty, and ultimately they lose the to fight what could be vital points right at the death, with Ward-Prowse obviously probably never going to really miss from obviously set piece specialist. But ultimately, I still think Newcastle will be okay, and I've obviously got Southampton being okay, but I think overall, again. Ant's obviously right, is you can sometimes take too much maybe from these first 3 games, but I think obviously I had all 3 of the teams that were promoted going down straight away, but I think obviously Brentford have really impressed me so far, but not necessarily the other 2 teams. So there is going to be, I think I still, relatively speaking, sticking with Watford and Norwich to go down, but there is going to be a 3rd team, so it's whether one of these 2 teams might get caught. Or they might make up the 3rd place, because I mean, obviously Arsenal in terrible straits, but I think eventually they'll start moving up the table. So there's got to be a 3rd one. But yeah, unfortunate for Newcastle, because it would have been a brilliant victory for them.
The thing that worries me about Newcastle as well is what happens if they lose Alan St. Maximin to either injury or if he goes in January, which I think is highly unlikely, but. I think that if that happens, especially if Joe Willock gets injured as well, they are in a relegation battle straight up.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
I said it back in April when St. Maximin returned from injury. If you have to go back to that show and rewatch it, I said it in April. St. Maximin keeps them in the league. They lose St. Maximin, they get injured. They get relegated. St. Maximin's the best player.
I forgot about Elyounoussi as well, Hela. Completely forgot about Elyounoussi. But good to see him get on the score sheet. But yeah, I just feel that Newcastle and Southampton are just 2 of these teams who just need a win under their belts just to get them going, really. But we will see what happens. Other results: West Ham 2, Crystal Palace 2. A very interesting game, actually, because obviously West Ham took the lead, Crystal Palace equalised, Antonio, who else, scored again for West Ham. And then what you don't do when you've scored a goal is basically concede straight after. But, I mean, Connor, you have to say that West Ham have started where they left off last season.
Yeah, they have, and to be fair, I think it was quite funny seeing West Ham fans on Twitter saying they were top of the league. It was actually quite nice to see, to be fair. But no, look, West Ham, I think, are they trying to sign Lingard on a permanent deal or something like that in the next 24 hours? I think I saw that today.
Well, from what I've heard today is apparently they're getting Tagliafico, I think, on a permanent deal, which obviously I know Ant, I know Leicester were in for Tagliafico as well before obviously they got Bertrand. Is this a very good move for West Ham?
We weren't in for Tagliafico this year. It was last year when Chilwell left and we brought in James Justin. That's when it was last year. But I think that's a brilliant move for them. He brings in that experience as well, which I know West Ham have got quite a few experienced players, but it's that experience at that European level, which for them, going into a European campaign this year, I think that'll be brilliant for them. It allows rotation because it's something I've mentioned about with Leicester, but West Ham have it as well, where we don't have the biggest squads in the world. So to bring in a player like that, they can rotate and obviously allow rotation competition. It can only be a good thing for them. And for the reported fee of like 8 to 12 million, they're laughing. Yeah. Brilliant business.
Absolutely.
Late 20s as well, but he's, as you said, phenomenal experience in terms of European football and international as well. That's crucial.
As Dan said, obviously he was at the game. it's just. Can I just say something, Dan? It's so nice to see you smiling again at being at the football. I think you've missed that throughout lockdown. I honestly do. I think you have obviously missed that. It's lovely to see your smiling face, and I hope you enjoyed the game, because West Ham are doing really, really well, and obviously they've got a very good, I think, a winnable group in the Europa League. But he says Dawson and Fabianski were honestly woeful. Zuma will walk straight into that back four. Yeah, I think Zuma will definitely walk into the back four for sure. And then he also says that Vlasic is in for his medical tomorrow, so expect for it to be done by the end of play. Very, very interesting. Obviously, another ex-Everton player as well. We'll move into the... Actually, no, we've actually missed one Saturday game, which was Aston Villa 1, Brentford 1. Jack, great start for Brentford, isn't it?
I tell you what, my man, Tony, sorry. I tell you, he got his goal. Was it this week or the week before? Anyway, but yeah, for me, I think I had them finishing in my predict the show about 10th. I think it'll surprise a lot of teams. But even if they do survive this season of getting that great result, but it's not an easy place to go, Villa Park. Liverpool know that anyway. In terms, but I think a point going away to Aston Villa. I think they took the lead. It was quick. Yeah, they scored with my man Tony. But yeah, Buendia getting a goal as well. I think it's his first since he's come.
Goal.
Yeah,
absolute stunning goal.
Yeah, probably goal of the weekend anyway, mate. But yeah, I'm probably one of me not surprised packages, because I watched them a couple of times last season, but I'm impressed so much by how they've adapted to the Premier League, and I tell you, they will take a couple of big scalps, and I'm not including Arsenal on that. So yeah, it's a great result for them. Yeah,
it is a great result, and obviously 5 points to start the season is fantastic already for Brentford. We'll move into the Sunday games, because there were two other games as well. Burnley Leeds United, Reese, 1-1. Did you actually see that coming?
Ask Carl Levy what I was thinking, and he'll tell you. No, I only watched the highlights, but I did say a draw. Funnily enough, I didn't think either team would win. I'm going to turn the cam off because it's doing my fucking head in. I don't... Shut up, you. I don't see much from... I actually had Leeds to do better this season, but they've actually went the exact opposite and proved me why I want them to get relegated as well. So I don't see anything tangible from them. Leeds, they're not actually doing enough in games. Burnley played them off the park. Burnley were aggressive, which is unsurprising. Like, even that aging squad, last 10 minutes they conceded a goal, but they dominated Leeds, and Leeds didn't have an ounce in them to actually say they were going to win the game. Did they deserve a draw? In my opinion, no, they didn't. They deserved to lose. So, in all respect to Leeds, if you want to do better, start dominating games, because you were absolutely pathetic. Their form from the pre-season is carried on to the season, and it's fantastic. So hopefully that continues as the season continues, so Leeds can get relegated. But they've been I'm just surprised by how bad they've been, because I expected them to do better, especially under Bielsa. So it just shows, is it second season syndrome at the moment? Incredibly likely.
You get the feeling it is. James, my goodness me, that'll be a good trivia question. Who scored the 30,000th Premier League goal? And it was Chris Wood of Burnley. Very, very interesting. I actually did not know that. So yeah, that's a good one to hold down as well. And the last game, obviously, of the Premier League was Tottenham 1, Watford 0. Hyun Min Song again seems to have a bit of a goal scoring streak at the moment. George, it's Tottenham top of the table. Very, very impressive from Nuno. Yes, I know it's been 3-1-0 wins, but you have to say Nuno's got them playing.
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, as you said, top of the table. Doesn't get any better than that. The only team with a perfect record as it stands. And yeah, as you said, 3-1-0s. But the biggest news for them really is keeping Harry Kane. That's going to be a real boost for them. They're going to have so many more. So obviously, Kane was a bit had a golden opportunity which was sort of flicked away from him, when he could have made it 2-0, and Spurs had other opportunities. But yeah, keeping Harry Kane is going to be a massive boost for them, and they'll finish really high up the table. I think, which to be honest, I predicted in a way, and I think most people would have predicted, thus far. But yeah, it's only 3 games gone. Obviously, after the international break, we'll see what happens. And good news for Tottenham and a good start. And Son's obviously got in real good goal scoring form, which they needed, obviously, with Harry Kane's off the field antics.
Yeah, absolutely. Connor, it felt like that. It felt like that Harry Kane tweeting the 3 wins in a row. He's just tweeting that everything. He's just getting people to forget that anything's happened with him.
It's gonna happen though, isn't it? It's like now with Mbappe and Madrid. He's going to City. It's just it's like a farewell tour. Now for Harry Kane, he'll have his season now at Spurs, and then next year he'll do exactly the same as what he did this summer: kick up a fuss and just look for the move yet again. And you'll have Gary Neville saying that he's a total professional, saint, and things like that.
Glazes out.
To be fair, just Gary Neville's a rat.
Gary Neville, this is the best way of explaining Gary Neville. He's a wanker. That's the end of it. I just love the fact he clearly wants to be unbiased as much as possible when it comes to punditry, right? And that's fine. And then you've got Jamie Carragher, who is completely biased, and he sums up completely. That's perfection, right? But this is the thing that really annoys me. Gary Neville's all about wanting the best professionals to represent Man United, but then he calls Harry Kane a saint, even though the fucker didn't turn up for training. But yet he then agrees with Graham Souness about Paul Pogba. So here's the thing, Gary, can you make up your mind?
He's not the worst of pundits. Did you see what Graham Souness said about the Neves Pogba tackle? I thought that was ridiculous. From a player from a man who actually liked to tackle players, it's a bit rich from him coming saying it was a leg breaker.
Yeah.
Did you see Graham Souness? I could just envision that tweet from him taking out one of the Everton players in the tappy.
If it's a leg breaker, you would see it. It was nothing in it.
Equals red card.
To be fair, I do agree with what Sudan says, is it was a bad tackle and stuff, but it's just out of all the people to come from it, sort of loses any credibility, because every time there's anything to criticise Pogba for, he'll put it on times 10 of what the actual validity of it is.
It was said earlier, wasn't it, by George and Reese? No one's talking about the Dan James tackle at all.
No,
it's surprising. It's very surprising.
Exactly.
The thing is, and I don't mean this to wind Reese up, because I say it on Twitter as well, but VAR is the most corrupt system in the world. It's there and I'll stand by this, it's there to keep the big clubs at the top, and stuff like that, when you play clubs like United, gets ignored. And I've said that so many times. And I know people laugh at me and stuff. Look into different referees that have come up and said about they've been silenced on stuff. VAR is literally just another tool for the FA to keep who they want up towards the top of the league.
There is one thing
because of stupid decisions.
There is one thing though that I think we do need to earmark, and I think the one person that summed up perfectly was Roy Keane though at the weekend, because obviously Ruben Neves is having a cry, bitch, and a moan in the purple area, as it's now called, saying, "Oh, it was a foul" and all that. But Roy Keane summed up perfectly. He was too honest. He stayed on his feet, and then he's had a look at Mike Dean expecting something, and then he's dropped to the floor. If he had went down and stayed down, it would never have been a goal. It would have been called back if it would have finished 0-0. That game would have finished 0-0 if he'd went to the ground straight away. But he chose to stay on his feet.
It shouldn't take that though, because there was an incident against Norwich for Vardy. If Vardy goes down in the box, because there was contact enough for him to go down, and he would have got a penalty, but he tried to stay on his feet and chip Tim Krul. If he goes down, penalty. But he tried, with VAR, you shouldn't need to flop on the floor as if you've been shot. But you still
God knows that well.
I mean, the thing that came out for me from the weekend was Granit Xhaka is a liability. Because like what you do not do is you jump 2-footed into a tackle. The minute you jump 2-footed into a tackle, you're automatically going to be sent off. I'm sorry, but it was just ridiculous. And I think someone put it right there. I can't remember who it was exactly, but someone said that Xhaka will do that 3-4 times a season. So you can't really trust him.
Can I just ask?
11 red cards in his career, by the way.
If the Pogba one was given as a foul, do we automatically think that's a red then?
Yeah,
because it's the exact same as Xhaka.
It studs up, so it should be. I think it should be, but put it this way, Wolves should have done better, defensively.
The thing
happened at the Euros as well, mind. Remember when we spoke during the Euros? It was the Italy-Wales game when Verratti done it. I said the exact same thing.
Yeah,
even
but I should have
Italy
been sent off that day. I'm pretty sure Nathan was doing a watch along. I think you said the same thing. I think Verratti should have been sent off. But
yeah, it was just clear a day. And the worst thing was Ampadu later on in the game, he did the same thing, and he gets a straight red. And I forever to say that day. I even said it in my watch along. The second I saw it, I straight up knew that was a red, simply because But how that Verratti decision was not a red card is beyond me, honestly.
That's absolutely. Both feet were off the ground. Xhaka's tackle, 1,000%
Yeah, it's exactly the same as what happened in the Championship playoff final as well. Well, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Conor Hourihane. He was literally flying in the air, and he was literally like this, about to tackle the Brentford player. Red card straight away, and then you have some big influencers who have the platform that they have trying to defend that. I think is completely ridiculous.
The thing is as well, obviously, when we got pumped on Monday night by West Ham last week and Perez got his red card, completely right decision to get the red card because his studs were up and he was out of control. But it depends who you play for if it's a foul or not.
The one thing is, though, if it had, you look at it as well, it is studs up, there's no denying that. It was so minimal as well. If you actually look at it, he's missed the ball, but he's not actually done anything to Neves. He's not actually done anything to him. If his right foot had been slightly more to the right,
I think if he goes down, I think if he goes down immediately, then the referee's got a problem.
It would have been called. But if it had went straight down rather than played honest and then dived, it would have been called back and it would have finished 0-0. But he's chose to take the cheap route, and he's been booked for simulation. So if anything, he's fucked himself.
Yeah. The thing is, it shouldn't be that he's fucked himself, because with VAR, they should be able to look that clearly there was a foul in it. And this is why I keep saying back, there's only certain clubs that goal doesn't get chalked off for. And it's ridiculous. Wolves can't feel too hard done by because they should have finished the game off by this point.
Oh, they should have been 2-0 up at half time. Maybe even 3, maybe even 4. But
but also at the same time, though, obviously Southampton had their goal stand as well, didn't they? Which I think Neves sort of alluded to as well against Man United.
The thing is, Neves is one. The one with Fernandes, the ball was won cleanly by Stevens. There wasn't a foul in it. I'm getting sick of this. I've seen it so much.
We had the last year against Sheffield United, man. We had 2 clear things cut off by us. That was, the referees even said that themselves. We had a penalty and a goal unfairly chalked off. So it's not just because it's a bigger club. We've had that as well. It's just some of these officials do not know what they're doing, and they've got no authority.
As I keep saying, mic up the refs. It's the only thing that's going to fix it.
Yeah.
Especially you've got VAR was on the end of so much stick. They've changed the way they use it again, and so won't be calling everything back, even when they should in the situation. Yeah, I have to agree. I have to agree. I think VAR is getting a little bit better this time around. Obviously, yes, this weekend there's obviously been controversial incidents, but I do feel it is getting better, and I think they have probably taken some hints from the from the Euros, and long may it continue. Long may it continue. But we do have to move on because there was another big game at the weekend, and it was in the Scottish Premiership where the Old Firm derby happened. But as I've said in the title, COVID hit. Rangers beat Celtic 1-0 to be unbeaten in 7 games against Celtic. Now, Reese, I have to say, I didn't expect this result coming. I mean, I obviously predicted 1-0 Rangers, but I have to say, for a time in that game, I did not see that coming.
It was end to end. I have to admit, that was probably, funnily enough, out of all the games that were actually on the whole weekend, that was probably the most entertaining game all weekend. I just felt like end to end result. Both teams were going at each other. I have to admit that Kyogo is a decent player for Celtic. He played really well. He should have scored a few. Ryan Kent should have done better. He should have had 1 or 2. I actually don't like, as much as I wanted Rangers to win. I got the result I wanted. It didn't look like a win for me. It looked like a draw all over for me. It had more in it for being a draw, but the difference is they didn't take their chances. We took one bang from a corner. Hollander scored, and I said, "Oh, really?" He was solid at the back, and he was solid going in the 6-yard box when he scored from the corner. And that's the thing: you can win 1-0 not playing great. If you take your chances, you score.
Surprised at how little quality is on show in that game, especially the first half. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the first half wasn't great, but when called upon, Robbie McCrory, I think people have said that he didn't have the best of times at Livingston. Look, what happened at Livingston? He got into a period of where he didn't play great.
True.
And then all of a sudden after that, it was Stryjek came in. He started to play as well. So I'm made up for the guy. Absolutely made up for the guy. His first Old Firm game, and he's made 2 outstanding saves. One from Kyogo, where he should be, squaring that to Christie. If he squares it to Christie, Christie's got an open net. But you have to say, I thought McCrory looked very, very good. Came from crosses as well. But as Dan said, there was not much quality in that game.
In terms of finishing, there definitely wasn't. But in terms of like both teams going at each other, it was like a proper Old Firm derby. In terms of like the attacking, they just not clinical. I was actually glad the player that got man of the match was the rightful deserving guy in the end, and that was Balogun. I thought Balogun was absolutely fantastic as a centre back playing right back. He just slots in really well, and he doesn't have the pace, but what he does have is experience, and he put his experience to great effect, and it was just phenomenal to watch, and that just shows where even if a COVID hit squad, we're still going to cause problems, and we're sitting third in the league behind Hibs, who rightfully at the top of the league deserve to be.
Yeah.
But I look at it and I go, we're in the international break. We'll be a lot better afterwards. I think eventually this is when Rangers are just going to take top spot back. This is when I see we're just going to put the charge on that league, and then 2 in a row, and that'll be the end of it. That's what I see happening, really. But overall, I have to agree with Dan's comment. There wasn't a lot of quality, but it was end to end. There should have been more goals in it, and I'll take the 3 points either way, and another clean sheet. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose I need to go to the games of the weekend. Hearts 2, Dundee United 0. Connor, Ben Woodburn, I should say, made his debut. Do you think he'll do well at Hearts? Do you think that's the right move for him?
Scottish football, isn't it, mate? Apart from Rangers and Celtic, it's then the battle of the rest. And look, can he do well? Yeah, he can do. Look, he's a championship level player, realistically, and look, he should do it.
Not quite.
He's had such a high ceiling at Liverpool, and had a good pre-season as well, I think, for us, which would be interesting to see what he does. And I think the major talking point, I think, from being off loan from Liverpool was where is his best position? Because at the minute, I don't think we knew as Liverpool fans. I think he's probably good in a 10 role or as like a more advanced 8. But I've seen some Hearts fans saying that he could play a number 9 role for them this season, which
No chance.
yeah, exactly. Like I don't think he's that. So yeah, I think more advanced Leighton. Hopefully he does well anyway, because realistically, he needs to move from Liverpool, and B, he just needs to get on with his career. Like all the rest of them would.
I think
Yeah,
he'll slot
the
in that
best thing that's
midfield
ever
really
happened
well.
to him. Like, I was really disappointed with how he plays at Oxford United in League Two, and with other players being offloaded, your likes of Harry Wilson, your Danny Ings, so many to name a few. I think he should have been one of the first to go. And the only thing, the memorable thing I remember him doing is scoring on his Wales debut. But ever since that, what's he done? Everything else has just been a downhill trajectory for him.
That's mental.
if that just sums up Xander Berger in a nutshell, it's that.
Yeah.
There is one positive. There is one positive. No disrespect to Norwegians, but it means he's not playing against us. But to be fair, that is a shame that he's out. But
We've got Denmark, not Norway.
I thought we were playing Oh, yes, so I forgot.
I think to go back
I'm shattered, mate. I've had a long day.
I think to go back on Nathan's point, the fact that Ben Woodburn, he went on to Oxford and Blackpool as well, and I thought Blackpool would have been the perfect move for Ben Woodburn because of Neil Critchley, but sadly he broke his foot, come back to Liverpool's training, and then broke his foot again. So it's either him not getting game time or it's the other way around, just with injuries and so on.
Nathan, I have to ask you this because Malky Mackay has endured a very tough start at Ross County. Yes, they drew 1-1 with Aberdeen, but it's 2 points from a possible 9. Are you worried that this job is too much for him?
To be honest, I don't think so at the moment. The question is of the right club, potentially, especially whether he gets backed or not. Because I remember when he first got into the Cardiff job, he had a fairly particular start, but then a couple of weeks later or a couple of months later, we were in a cup final against Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
It's just time with Malky Mackay, but I don't. It depends on the squad he's inherited, because when he took over the Cardiff job in 2012, we bought him out of his Watford contracts. Half of our team was leaving. We were like, right, here's some money. Go spend whatever you like. You can have a completely new 11. And you get to keep your Whittinghams, your David Marshalls, sort of that caliber player. Build your squad around it, and we will get you to the Premier League. That's Vincent Tan's attitude to him. So he got everything he wanted.
Yeah.
If you look at it, he did fail at Wigan because he was backed with absolutely nothing. So the question is he one of those managers, if he gets what he wants, like a Big Sam, for example, then he's absolutely superb? Or is it just a slow rebuild time for Ross County? I think personally it's a slow rebuild time, and he'll just about keep them up, I reckon. But it's going to take time for him. Maybe a step down to the Championship would be a good idea for them to come straight back up. But really, it's a waiting game for me.
Aye, absolutely. I absolutely have to agree with that. I have to say, from a Livingston fan's point of view, am I worried that we're bottom at the moment? Well, I look at it, and I don't know if Reece agrees with me, but we've played 4 out of the potential top 6 this season. And actually, to be fair, we have actually looked like we haven't gone into those games thinking that we're going to be thrashed. We've only lost those games by a couple of goals at least. Yes, Rangers was 3-0. I can understand that. But if you look at the Aberdeen game, 2-1. You look at the Motherwell game, 2-1. You look at the Hibs game, 2-0. Okay, Bruce Anderson, unfortunately, had a diabetic fit, so he's had to go to hospital. Max Striek and somebody else, I think it was Jack Fitzwater, were suffering as well. Like Martindale's come out and said that Martindale came out and said that they were actually very ill at half time as well. So they had to take Jack Fitzwater off at I think at the 49th minute and then bring somebody on after that as well. So you can quite clearly see that the COVID has actually struck the Livingston squad a lot. So I think the fact that we're bottom is not really surprising. However, Reece, I do have to ask this though. It's 1 win in 17 now for Martindale. Do you think he is on a little bit of a tightrope?
I would have to say so, yeah. Looking at the position, I know Livingston aren't the greatest club in Scotland, but they are still a respectable club in the sense of they pride themselves on hard-working team, and they like to give people a chance. The question is, how much longer are the words going to be given a chance going to last? And COVID isn't fair for anybody, but even in certain situations, you would want to at least get something out of your team. It's just not working out, and I don't know how much longer he's going to last. He is going to need some form of help to get him in, even a couple of loan signings if you manage it, because the deadline day is tomorrow. There's still a chance that Livingston could still make a couple of signings, even loan signings, to keep the squad going. They do need some depth in there, especially with the COVID situations.
Yeah,
it's not like Rangers and Celtic or whatever, where we've got the depth to cope, but they need something any way they can.
Just to answer this question, Chris, I'm not surprised he hasn't really been in the first team fold. He was another one suffering with COVID as well. He was a close contact, I think, of Craig Sibbald. So, yeah, doesn't surprise me. I think he'll do well, Morton.
As well, I really think that you should go on an attempt to re-sign Kyron Brown on loan. He hasn't been in the side once for us this season. He was superb towards the end.
Oh, wow.
Ever since we brought in Martin McGuinness, he's been the main cover. And I haven't actually, even in the cut, or really pre-season, he has not been seen at all anywhere. So I don't know what's happened to him.
Holy moly. Right. That's good to me then.
If you can go and bring him in, that would be great. I really think that would be a good move for him as well. Maybe a year. Take out completely get rid of the recall clause in there, because I can see it now. We'll recall him again in January. I really think that I still think you should go for it, because he'll be enough to keep you up. Super player. It's just I don't know why Mick doesn't rate him.
So obviously we do have the World Cup qualifiers to come up. However, something did happen last week, and obviously I had Reese, I had the pleasure of having Owen, and I had the pleasure of Connor being on the Champions League draw. So basically, if I remember this off the top of my head, George, Villarreal, Atalanta, and Young Boys. How confident are you of winning that group?
With Ollie, I'm never fully confident. However, I mean, I think we were for once. I mean, to be honest, we have had quite bad draw luck, and I've already made a point previously that a lot of in cup competitions sometimes you can be very the draw can be a major factor, and I feel like for last season, obviously we did brilliantly in the first part of that group, which was effectively the group of death, and obviously lost it at the end, which we really shouldn't have done, but we were quite unlucky with that draw, and I feel like we've got some good fortune. I mean, with this draw, and obviously it'll be a chance to get revenge over Villarreal, and especially Moreno, with the because obviously with his what a terrible player, but we've got ultimately we've got to beat them, take a bit of revenge, and we should be topping that group. There may be a few tricky nights in there, but we should definitely be topping that group and hopefully getting a favourable second round tie. But and obviously the other thing is we've now got Cristiano Ronaldo, who is Mr. Champions League, so that's incredibly positive, because his winning mentality, especially on big Champions League nights, is going to be vital and very beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Welsh has actually put a very good point, Reese. I think Man United and Atalanta go through, Villarreal drop in Europa League and reach the final, Emery effect. Yeah. How do you see that group going?
I completely agree with that. I actually agree with Man United. They're going to get 16 out of 18 points. I think Atlanta are going to get around 10. I think Villarreal will fall short. I don't see Young Boys getting anything unless it's like scrap of the draw. I don't care what people think is in terms of the draw. The hardest team in our group is Atlanta. Like a team like Atlanta,
100%.
98, they scored 98 goals in the league last year with the quality they've got. Yeah, they've lost a few of their players like Gomez and stuff, but they're still a very good attacking side. And if anyone writes them off, and I'm not joking, if I see any Man United fans write Atlanta off, then there's something wrong with you, because they are generally a very strong attack-minded side, and the system as well. It's very good structurally for defence. even when they concede goals, they will find a ways to attack you really well, and they press teams really well. Villarreal, they're so limited. Like they are the Spanish Burnley, but they will win games. They will win games when it matters. But they aren't effective enough. I do not see them doing anything unless we have like an off night. I do not see anything in that sense.
I must say, because obviously me and Jack will obviously know this, because Atalanta, we beat them 5-0 in Italy, but Atalanta came to Anfield and actually won 2-0. So Jack, Man United have to be wary of Atalanta, don't they?
Yeah, very much so. Is Zapata still at the club, or has he moved to Inter?
He's still there. He's still there.
I think if he can keep hold of him and Illich as well, I don't know if he's still there, but as Reece mentions, Gomez has left us for Sevilla. But yeah, it's going to be, will the pressure get to Manchester United? Obviously, everyone expects them to go through, but it's when there's so much pressure put on your shoulders, whether obviously Ronaldo should single-handedly just carry the whole Man United side on his back anyway. But it's when the pressure comes to Ollie in his career, managerial career at Man United. It's always been that one or two games where he's been put up against the wall. They've always won. But if they don't get out of that group, it'd be, I think, there's got to be questions asked about Ollie.
If he doesn't get the group, I genuinely will be annoyed because I do not want to see us back in the Europa League. Because it's like there's just no need for us to be there. But I'm looking at it and I'm going, we should get 6 points from. We should also get 6 points of young boys, no question about it. We should get at least, I would say, 4 of Atlanta and Villarreal. I would love it if we beat them home and away and get the 6 points, but I think we may draw one of the games.
Grace going in Kevin Keegan tangent mode. I like it. I like it.
But we'll see what happens. But I honestly, I expect us to top that group. Like, there's just no way Man United do not top this group. But I'll say this. So this was interesting today. If you're obviously they're not in our group, but you look at Sevilla in terms of how they're going to respond being in the Champions League. They've already announced today if Koundé goes to when Koundé goes to Chelsea, they're signing Botman. That's a replacement right there and then for Sevilla. If you're a Sevilla fan, that's them sorting the Champions League. But Villarreal, I don't see where they're going to cause us damage unless they get a set piece and we're caught ball watching. That's it. I don't see anything else happening in that game because they're just Burnley but with a yellow shirt on.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris said, Reece, I would love it. We beat Villarreal. Love it. Nathan, obviously looking at it from a sort of an outside point of view, how do you see this group going?
I got to agree with everyone else. Exactly the same. Atalanta, strong side. They're going to challenge Man United, especially as well. But Villarreal, it's destined they're going to go into the Europa League, and Mr. Good Evening is just going to tear that to shreds, and they'll win it again. They're essentially the new Sevilla, aren't they? Just winning the Europa League every year and then bottling the Champions League. Young boys, just too little, too late, really. I think it would have been much better for them to get into the Europa League or maybe the Conference League to maybe go on a European run, but it's just not for them this time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Jack, you can answer this question. Do Liverpool have the squad depth to effectively take on Premier League, Champions League and the FA and League Cup, and worry we might collapse midway like last season due to injuries? Well, let's talk about the Champions League group that we've got, because hello European royalty, I think it's safe to say. Atletico Madrid, FC Porto and AC Milan. 15 Champions Leagues between the 4 clubs. I mean, Liverpool have got 6, AC Milan have got 7, and FC Porto have got 2.
Yeah.
European royalty, and Atletico Madrid still never won the Champions League.
And they never will.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm excited, mate. If you're in the Champions League, regardless whoever you get, it's the whole point of playing the competition. If you want to win the Champions League, you've got to beat the best. And if it's good practice coming up against Atletico, yes, they don't suit Liverpool the way in which Liverpool play. But I think over 2 games, Liverpool should at least get a maximum of at least 3 points given. And Milan, great young side. They play nice attacking football, and it will be interesting to see how they do approach this season Champions League. Being out for a very long time, but it's great historically. We all grew up with watching Maldini's, the Beressis, and there's so many great players at Milan side. But it'll be interesting. Should get progress really to the latter stages, but there's no easy tie, and I'd be deeply disappointed if we don't get out of that. But it could have been a lot worse, mate.
It could have been.
They started well last night as well. They started the season well last night as well. I watched against Cagliari winning 4-1. They've started really well. They're going to be coming out, and they've got the right experience in the right positions. I think Milan will be fighting Atletico for second. I think it'll be Milan that actually progress in the knockout stages. Obviously, I would love for Milan to win the group, but
so could you see Atletico potentially being third then?
I think they could if they don't get a good start. Yeah, I think they could. I think Milan's like the fact of being back in the Champions League, where to be fair they rightfully belong. I honestly think this could be a good for them, where they've got they've got two experienced strikers behind them as well, and Magnan started really well on goal. Where I just look at them and I go, the only weakness is if they don't score goals. And the attacking way they played last night against Cagliari, they just bossed that game. Like, it should have been more than 4, but it's great seeing Giroud and Zlatan seem to have coped really well, and that's something as well. You've got two experienced goal scoring machines to a degree in there. Giroud's a different goal scoring machine. He scores beautiful goals. Zlatan just bullies you to hell. So I would keep an eye on that. But if Atletico don't get a good start in this group, then I do not see them getting out of it.
Yeah. George, you will come in on that one?
It's quite a difficult group to call, really, because obviously Porto did very well last season as well. It's obviously eventually went out to Chelsea, but they're definitely no pushovers either. I would probably say that Liverpool will top the group, and obviously, as Reece has said, there's a battle really for second, maybe probably between Atletico Madrid and AC Milan. I believe, and again, it will be quite a close group, and I think Porto could get in amongst it as well. But I think my order will be Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, AC Milan, then Porto. But like I said, they could really be in any order, because it's a very difficult group for Liverpool. Because, as I said, Porto are no pushovers either.
Yeah, Nathan?
It's such a hard one to call. It is definitely this year's group of death, even with Group A as well. So many cracking groups this year. To be honest, it's going to be Liverpool, Atletico for the top two. I think Liverpool will drop points definitely to Atleti, though it always happens, doesn't it? I guess.
I've lost time. How many people say that? I've lost count how many people say that. We just can't seem to beat Atletico.
Never know, they might do the double against you, but that's another thing. Liverpool have got to be careful not to drop into Europa as well. But the thing I believe is, if the unthinkable happens and you guys finish bottom, you've got to push for Premier League this year, and put all your eggs into one basket. Even get out of the cups if you want, or maybe stay in the FA Cup, but obviously you've got to win it. But I think, Milan, they're destined to go in Europa League, and I think that'll be better for them because they'll be able to push, and I think they'll even get to the final if they do drop there. But Porto, realistically, they're going to finish fourth.
Well, you've got us into the right mindset, because we were going to Group A: Manchester City, PSG, RB Leipzig, and Club Brugge.
Finally,
Jack, Man City finally get a hard group. How do you see that group going?
You're on mute, Jackie boy.
It's a Man City owners trying to silence me. But made up, mate. Absolutely fantastic. I know we got Atletico, but I was like when both of them got tired against each other, Oil FC, and even to an extent, RB Leipzig are probably one of the teams in Germany that are quite all the fans hate them. Obviously, they've pumped a load of sponsorship money into the club, and obviously Red Bull, so that they're not the best favourite team in Bundesliga football. So all of them, even to an extent. But I'm excited. Is it Club Brugge as well?
Club Brugge,
Club Brugge in their group. So it will be interesting. I think Club Brugge have started shocking in the Belgian league, so it will be that. I think they've done it intentionally, just so they can't get drawn against each other. Some cheeky backhanders, because obviously when you get through to knockout stages, you can't instantly face each other, can you? So for me, it's been done on purpose, but it will be a great spectacle. Messi coming back to Pep after all those years. I'm just happy he hasn't joined Man City, but it will be a great game of football. And it'd be great to see Kevin De Bruyne against that PSG midfield, because I think he will tear through them anyway.
There's another thing about that game as well. It's oil we'll call it now the oil classical. But the other thing as well, and I'm going to put a limb on it. This is current versus successor. Take that if you will. That's what I think about it. This is current versus successor. If you actually put your mind to it.
Yeah. You've said this a couple of times. You think Pochettino's going to be Pep's successor?
I absolutely do. I stand by it. It's not going to be Zidane. I don't know where. Like, I've seen people thinking Zidane is going to go in Man City. I don't. I think Pochettino's going to win the league this year. Messi will carry them over the line. They'll win the league there probably by 50 points, which wouldn't surprise me because you know what they're like. Or if they bottle it, that'd be typical Spurs mentality following Pochettino everywhere. That's why I call him Floppuccino.
How will Leipzig do?
I think Leipzig will drop it. I think they'll give both teams a good game. They'll get 6 points out of 6 against Bruges. But in terms of City and PSG, I think they'll potentially draw one of those games, maybe lose. It'll be difficult. But I think either them or Milan, if Milan drop to Europa League, is one of those two that wins the Europa League for me, Milan or Leipzig.
It does concern me, especially with Sabitzer now going to Bayern Munich as well. If you haven't got a point you're going to really struggle.
Honestly, Nathan, I don't know if you, Jack, Reese, or George will agree with me, but that's so predictable. Bayern Munich buying RB Leipzig, Dortmund, Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Haaland's going to Bayern, mate, and he will go.
Start coming, mate. They already took Upamecano off us. Now they're taking Sabitzer, so I'm not particularly surprised. But to be fair, Andre Silva, as soon as we turn up against them in the league, Andre Silva will probably put a hat-trick past them, and Leipzig will win the league for sheer shits and giggles. But I'm not surprised that they're signing Sabitzer and cheap value as well. That's the insulting part. It's cheap because he's such a good player. But I'm not surprised.
Nathan, how do you see that league, that group going? I should say
it's quite straightforward to think of, really, unless Man City do something absolutely stupid. But PSG first, Man City second, / RB Leipzig there. But it'll be for them two switching round. RB Leipzig, I think they're going to drop into Europa, and then finishing last on 0 points, Club Bruges.
0 points. Wow.
I'm going to go on a limb. PSG gets 16 out of 18 in that group. I think they'll draw at the Etihad.
If PSG don't win the Champions League, it's a disappointment this season.
If they don't win the Champions League, then we should all just do a stream going, who is the true GOAT? And then we can all just put pictures of Ronaldo and accept it.
I think I'm going slightly against that, and I'm going to say that Man City will win the group, and PSG will come second. Obviously, it is between those two, and it could be either way around. But obviously, and PSG have made some absolutely insane, as we know, probably one of the best incoming transfer windows of all time. Yeah. The amount of players they brought in, but at the same time, I just feel like, as we saw obviously last season when the two teams face each other, and albeit the fact that there's obviously a lot of different personnel, what I do see with PSG is as soon as the going gets tough, there's always someone who gets going, obviously gets sent off or something silly like that, and you can just see Sergio Ramos doing something absolutely stupid. He's a red card walking, isn't he? You can just see him.
Just imagine, to get
himself sent off and cost them the game. So I think Man City will be top, PSG second, Leipzig third, and it was a Club Bruges, wasn't it? It was the
Club Bruges, yeah,
Club Bruges will prop up the table. That's my prediction anyway. But it could go either way really with those two.
And the final group that we're going to talk about before we head off is Chelsea's group, Nathan. Chelsea, Juventus, Zenit, and Malmo FF. You would expect Chelsea to win that group, especially with what's happened at Juve. Apparently, I think James Dunlop said that apparently Moyes keen to Juventus as a done deal.
That'd be a good signing, personally. Good for squad depth and everything, especially, he's going to score more goals than that absolute walking disaster Morata, but yeah, I think that one says itself, really. Chelsea winning the group, Juventus, they're going to finish second unless something stupid happens, which very much can happen. But under Allegri, I just think he's such a good manager, but I really don't think he should have gone back to Juventus, especially with the way things have turned out, with the likes of Ronaldo leaving and all that. But
Yeah.
Zenit, they're definitely going to Europa League, hands down. I think they'll actually do quite well in it as well. And then finishing bottom, obviously Malmo.
Come on, Dejan Lovren, Jack.
They're happy.
Come on, Dejan Lovren, Jack.
I tell you what, mate, he will probably score an overhead kick or something weird in that group stage. He just does weird stuff. It's so random. He'll probably get sent off as well. But yeah, they should progress.
This would be amazing if it's a deadline day deal. Transfer news: Crystal Palace are likely to sign Edward from Celtic. I have to say, I think I said to Ali a couple of weeks back that they were in for Edward. I'm surprised it's taken them to the deadline, but obviously I think they wanted Nketiah, but I think he's going to be staying at Arsenal. But
this is a better option. This is the better option for them.
If you got Patrick Vieira, you probably idolised as a kid, ringing it up. I think he probably will move. I know he's very inexperienced, but I think that'll be a big.
And sorry if I'm late to the party. Has Troy Deeney left Watford?
Yes, he's gone to Birmingham City.
So he's away. So he's away play with Tahith Chong feeding him the goals. That's going to be interesting.
The announcement video has actually come through 13 minutes ago, labelled "Now it's my turn."
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So where's he gone?
So he's went to Birmingham
City.
He's went to Birmingham.
Wow.
It's weird not seeing Troy Deeney in a Watford shirt like
that. That is going to be so strange because he loved the goal against Liverpool. He loved the goal against United. I think he loved the goal against all the top six as well. That is going to be so weird. But yeah, just very, very quickly, Jack. Chelsea's group. I think you'd have to say Chelsea will go through.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Juventus do in the Champions League, mate, and even in Serie A, in terms of losing Ronaldo. Who did we play? Have they signed anyone to replace
Moise Kean?
Moise Kean's going back, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a great move.
No.
They're trying to get a midfielder as well. They're trying to get a midfielder like Pjanic and all that, so...
Yeah. Like those two should walk that, mate. And even just quickly looking on Group G, I think if all of us asked if we could have been in that group, I think we all would have loved to have been in Group G.
Yeah, I think so. George, I don't think anyone's going to put past Chelsea to win that group.
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously anything can happen in football, but you'd strongly predict that Chelsea will top that group. Definitely the strongest side that's in there. Juventus at the moment in a bit of disarray. It seemed like again I was only sort of watching the highlights of their league match at the weekend, and it seemed like Chiesa was having to do absolutely everything by himself. He was trying to dribble around about five with no one anywhere within about 10 yards of him, trying to dribble around about 5 defenders by himself and still getting off shots. So I had seen that as well. To be honest with you, I had seen that theme already. In the Champions League when they obviously played against Porto and got eliminated against 10 men. I saw that it very much was a case with Juventus where they are just obviously a fallen giant a bit. They've got not necessarily the right player quality any longer. And it seemed with obviously that back then it was sort of Chiesa, but at least he had Ronaldo there for help. And now it just does seem like Chiesa by himself. And obviously they're hoping that Moise Kean will alleviate that a bit. But Juventus are very poor at the moment. It's I don't necessarily see them at all going anywhere close to the Serie A title.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll leave it there. Thank you very much to everyone who's watched. Thank you to Josh for hosting earlier on. Thank you to Connor. Thank you to Ant as well. And Jack, thank you very, very much for coming back on as well. Obviously, get you back on as soon as possible. And to my regulars, Nathan, Reese, and Mr. George Kyle as well. We will be back with you same time next week, where we'll probably be talking a lot about the World Cup qualifiers. Obviously, Denmark have Scotland, England are in Hungary. So that will be a very interesting one as well. But thank you very, very much for watching, and we will see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye for now.